Hey, hey,
Hey, how are ya?
I'm good. Jason and Jen, how are you guys?
we are doing wonderful. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know, we've got Vincent Koo today. Vincent specializes in the New York market. You're in the boroughs, I believe, right?
Yeah. I'm right in NYC.
Awesome, awesome, good deal. Lots of stuff going on up there. We wanted to have you on today. We really want to pick your brain on the market in NYC. We're seeing a lot of clients asking us how are the prices up there, considering buying a second home. We're getting a lot of phone calls and clients coming down saying we want a second home down here. And then, man, we know that you are the team master. You brought over an excellent big team from another brokerage, and you are killing it at EXP. So thank you for joining us today.
He's always loud and loaded with 50 questions right out the gate. We've got all of that.
Where do you want me to start?
So how about let's start on the market. I mean, we're getting a lot of calls on clients from New York, New Jersey, Boston, things like that. I know New York's your specialty, but people want to come down, buy a second home. Some are considering making this their 6 month and a day home, and then making New York their second home.
Why do you think? Why do you think that we're seeing this migration over to Florida?
So I think we've got a little more run on the beaches right now. I'm seeing the New Yorkers really wanting that beach property. The waterfront property is super hot right now. Stuff going, multiple offers within the first hour of it getting listed. The COVID obviously is having an impact on this because you guys are all vertical living there, right? And some people want to spread out. And what better place to spread out than the beach?
It's space and price, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you take a look at what you could get for, let's say, I want to say like 700,000 over here, which is like a studio condo here in Manhattan.
Yeah.
What could I get for that in Florida? What could I get for half of that in Florida?
Yeah, so you can definitely get more inland in that area. Most of the beach property now, if you're on the beach, you're going to be at about $1 million on the low side, $2 million to really get one of the nicer, more modern homes, and then obviously up from there. But what I've noticed are the New Yorkers aren't in price shock, right? So we're from Ohio. You send somebody from Ohio down to the beach pricing, and they're like, oh my gosh, everything's so expensive. Somebody from New York City comes down, and they're like, oh, waterfront on the beach, $2 million. Here's a check. Great deal. So it's just what people are accustomed to. And obviously your market, you guys have some really high price per square foot.
Right. So what I see this as is kind of like a rebalance, right? Yeah. So a lot of people do want to go out and move to Florida, move down south, and move away from the city. But I feel like that's just a new opportunity for new people to come and live in Manhattan, live in the city.
Yeah.
Still, there's still a lot of draw to be in the city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we're both going to win here. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
You're going to win because you're going to have a lot of the New Yorkers come and go and take a look and buy second homes or move entirely over to Florida. And we're going to win because we get a whole new set of people that get to come and experience Manhattan living.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What are you seeing as far as the suburbs? Are you seeing people primarily in the city staying in the city, or are you seeing them move out a little bit to the suburbs?
They're moving out. We're getting multiple offer situations. Lines of people out the door during open houses, and it's amazing. It's amazing, but it's more than. It's just a lot of things kind of stacked on top of each other, right? So obviously you have this pandemic and people don't want to be, living on top of each other anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got these low interest rates, like under 3%.
Yeah.
Right. So doesn't it make sense for everybody to be jumping into the market right now and getting ownership?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Huge opportunity. And then you have the inventory, the pressure on the inventory, right? So that's driving up the demand. That's driving up the prices as well.
It is. Yeah. And the thing that offsets that, to your point, are the low APRs right now, because now you have more buying power. So it is interesting. We are starting to see those prices uptick. The mortgage rates being so low are keeping a lot of people still in the game and able to afford that home that they want, whether it's their primary or their secondary.
So what parts of Florida do you guys specialize in?
So we're in the greater Tampa market, so that pretty much covers, Tampa and surrounding, like St. Pete, would probably be the other one. We have Clearwater nearby. That's probably the most famous beach in our market. But yeah.
Clearwater, St. Pete.
Clearwater, St. Pete.
I mean, it's interesting because, we have the people that are coming to look for that beachfront property, but then also there's, even our suburbs are just busting at the seams. Like Wesley Chapel, where we live, I'd say 7 years ago when we moved here. I remember we moved from Ohio of all places. So it's not like I was from some city. I'm from Ohio, and we got here, and I remember getting off the highway and I was like crying. I was like, there's just cows everywhere. And there's nothing here. And to see the growth here, I think what they were saying is one of the number 3 places in Florida. It was rated number 3 to live for growth. And I mean, it's amazing, like the stuff that we were seeing here. So it's been interesting. We see it in the suburbs though too. It's a different lifestyle, but you get a lot more, like you're saying, to spread out here in the suburbs, and you can get a lot more house. $700,000 here in Wesley Chapel is going to get you a beautiful home. 4,000 square feet, 3,500. I mean, amazing.
Were you guys in real estate in Ohio?
No.
Yeah.
No, really? Okay.
I got into real estate when we moved here because I became friends with our realtor, and I really didn't know anything about the area, but I just did it.
And then you eventually created a team and had ownership in a franchise, correct?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so we originally were looking at a Remax franchise. We went to Remax for a little while. Didn't have any interest there in growing a team. We did quickly realize that we didn't want full ownership of a brokerage in all of the liability, paperwork, just too much involved. So we started to create a team at Remax, and then we realized at that point we felt Keller Williams was a better fit. We did get some ownership in a local Keller Williams franchise, but the past several years we've been watching EXP. We've been seeing all these industry leaders start to move over. I know it made a big splash when you moved over. It's been, I believe, around a year now. You came over, made a huge splash with so many agents coming over with your team. But we love it.
I just want to chime in and say that I didn't want to go to Keller Williams. I wanted to go to EXP years ago. And
really?
I wanted EXP probably 3 years ago. So I've been watching it. And so we saw we're in Tom Ferry coaching. So I saw a bunch of Tom Ferry agents that we paid, right? We paid to go to conferences to see them. And I'm like, we pay a ton of money just to be in the room. Like, I want to work with these people. So when I saw that the honey badgers and everything that was going on at EXP, and then we saw Veronica go, and we've known Veronica for years. And so he's like, I'm calling her. I'm going to find out what's happening.
Isn't that everybody's biggest regret? I wish I would have moved over sooner.
Yes, everybody says it. Yeah.
It's so funny. And I just heard today that there was an Icon agent. She said that the $16,000 in stock that she received 3 years ago is now worth over $100,000.
That's awesome. I love it. Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah. And back when they were trying to get us to come over, they were offering us stock bonuses just to come. So although I love to see the stock climbing, there's a little bit every day that's like, oh, dang, that hurts.
You guys have been in since March, you said?
Yep. We came over in March.
Before all this hit the fan with the COVID situation. So we couldn't have done it at a better time, I think.
So that stock has increased 140% since we came over.
Yes. So we came over, was trending right around $7, 7 and some change. And I think today it's flirting with 21. So it's almost 3x since we've come over. So again, of course, we're always like, man, we wish we would have done this sooner, had even more stock. But, everybody's timing in life is different. We're super glad we made the move. And now it's 2021. Where's it going to be in a year? Is it going to be 40? Is it going to be, it'll be interesting to see how high it climbs with all the agents moving over.
Especially with the international expansion.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you consider that the amount of adaption that we have in the US, we're at like 2.3% of the agent population in the US. Such a great model. And we only have 2.3% of the agents. So many people don't know about it yet. And we're about to go to all of these new countries. So I only see upside potential.
I agree. And that goes back to a lot of what Veronica says. Everybody's coming. It's just when do they realize that it's the right move? But eventually they're all going to come, and we believe that.
So
and they're coming with the same regrets. I should have came out in 3 years earlier.
Exactly.
But then, I guess, it's easy to think that, we may have had a different experience 3 years ago, right? Part of what's made this such an amazing, transition is being able to network with people like you and Veronica. And and maybe that wouldn't have been there 3 years ago. So I just feel like everything happens for a reason. And I think that we couldn't be more thankful to be a part of this now. I think it's been, we had a talk with Veronica last week, and I will tell you, when we were at KW, we kind of put a halt on growing our team. We just were at a crossroads. We're like, how do we grow this? What direction do we want to go? And we just kind of felt lost, right? And we weren't feeling like we were finding the people there to help, within the organization to help us figure that out. And coming over, I think just in a few months at EXP, it's opened my mind to just, the vision's bigger than we ever thought it would be, to be completely honest. And but it's because you're inspired by people around you, and then you can actually talk to people living it, doing it. It's not what's in a textbook. It's, hey, Vincent, I don't know what to do. Like, have you run into this? And that's invaluable.
Yeah,
I've heard that too. Like, people say I came for the stock, I came for the rev share, but I stayed for the collaboration, right?
Yeah.
And I love the fact that we get to partner up. I love the fact that we get to go, up and down the East Coast now, and refer business to each other.
Exactly.
That to me is priceless.
It
really
is. Yeah.
But now I have a question for you, though. So obviously, we were having all these thoughts with a team of how many of us came over? Like 12, or not even that many. So we're this little team, and it was still a big decision. How do you make that decision when you had your own brokerage, right? Or you were at your...
So I had 3 brokerages, 3 franchise brokerages.
Wow.
And my thought process, while we were growing it is, all right, I've grown this office. It's doing very well. What do I do next? How do I expand?
Yeah.
It was always go out there and find another market and open up another office. And, the checks that I had to write in order to make that happen, was amazing. So we did that. We opened up another office, started from zero, built that up. And then what's next? Let's go to the third market.
Yeah.
Right. I thought I was smarter the third time. I said, instead of starting from scratch, I'm going to buy one. I'll buy a small office and then build that up. But that took a lot of money, a lot of time too. And at the end of the day, I said, I don't think that this is the future anymore. Right? I see that the work that we're doing every year, it's not changing. Yeah. It's not improving. There's no end in sight. Okay. So to me, I was kind of running away from the franchise model. But at the same time, I saw huge opportunity in partnering with the agents that decided to continue to work with me. And, kind of joining forces and being on the forefront of a global brand that will inevitably be the largest real estate company out there.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought, timing was right. It wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be pretty, that move. Right?
Yeah, a lot of agents.
It was a little rough, just because there was a lot of moving pieces. EXP did a great job. They gave us like these concierges that walked us through the whole process and stuck with us for an entire year. In fact, everybody that comes over, they get their own personal concierge, and they, any problems along the way, you reach out to them, and they'll direct you to where to go and get you all your answers.
Yeah, and I love that, because that's most agents' biggest fear is, how do I stop what I'm doing to get out of that grind to make the move without losing business, dropping the ball, things like that. So the concierge, I think, is an excellent idea. I love the fact that it stays with everybody for a year. They check in on you, right? I mean, we get messages all the time. Is there anything we can do for you? How can we improve? Things like that. So I love that aspect.
And one of the things, go ahead. Is it
Go ahead.
Okay. No, you go ahead. I want to hear you say this, because mine's kind of off topic. So okay.
Well, I like to see that my producers are doing better, and my top producers are even happier. right? So that's, I get a kick out of that. I get a kick out of, one of the teams that moved over with us celebrating, their 6 months and going over their numbers and saying, I just came off the best year I ever had, and year to date I'm already 40% ahead.
Love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's including the COVID months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I get these texts from my team members saying, take a look at the stock price, or I just got a stock reward, or I just grew my group, or I just expanded to another state.
Yeah.
Right. Like little things like that. I feel more connected with my group now. I feel like we're working together as opposed to I'm just the broker, and the way they treat me, the way they look at me is also different as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So when you came over, what was their feeling at it, at the beginning versus obviously now they're loving it, they're growing, and things are even better. But how much hesitation was there at the beginning?
There was some, it depends. Some people are, they researched it. Some of the agents have heard of it before I heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay? And some of the agents already considered it. So there was a few I sat down with and I said, here's my plan. And they said, why didn't you, I'm so glad you brought it up because I was going to go anyway. So there was a couple that did that. There was a couple that said, after I told them about it and after they researched it, they could not move any faster.
Awesome.
Right? So they wanted to jump in before I jumped in.
Yeah.
Right? And a number of them did.
Yeah.
With my blessing, I said, hey, go ahead and, be the first one to get in there. I have to, tie up a few loose ends over here and I'll be there as well.
Yeah.
I had some that were very nervous about it, but went on blind faith, right?
Yeah.
Half blind faith there, because it takes a little bit of faith, doesn't it?
It does.
You have some trust. There's people that were with me for 10 years. There's people that were with me for 13, 15 years. And they said, I'll go because you're going, but I don't know about this company.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Now looking back, they're like, okay, I've amassed this amount of stock that I didn't have to spend any money on. Monthly I get this much money, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things that you did bring up that I thought was interesting, that this was kind of one of the things that were appealing to us, is just like how you were saying, like you had to keep going into different markets, right? And opening offices and expansion was much harder with a franchise because you're dealing with territories. And that was something that we were dealing with that was getting really frustrating because of the way where we were at. We really wanted to be in, where we live in Wesley Chapel, right? Well, that territory was owned by a different, it was, we couldn't seem to get where we wanted to get. So one of the things that a lot of people ask me and they don't understand is like, well, who's your broker?
Mm-hmm.
How does this work? And I think EXP was just brilliant with how they set it up and how easy it is to expand in other markets. And so I guess tell us how that worked for you. Was that something that was good for you?
It was, for my associates, they still come to me, and I'm happy to receive them, and I'm happy to help them. But we also have that other layer, which is our state brokers, and we have multiple state brokers, and you guys have multiple state brokers too, and they scaled that with the number of agents that are in the state.
Yep.
Right? When I joined, or when I started looking at EXP in New York, there was only 250 agents in the entire state.
Wow.
Right? Right now, there's well over 1,000. Okay, and they're able to, I could call my broker, I could text my broker, I could chat them up on Workplace, I could email them. So there's multiple ways that I could get to them.
Yeah, and there's more to get to. There's more brokers available rather than just one point of contact at a local franchise.
Exactly. And I've done work with the broker of your state because I have a team in Florida as well. And so we're in communication, and, Andrew's just amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing.
On top of the stuff.
Yeah.
He supports my team out there, and he supports me in New York. Right. So it's really nice. I feel like there is this, this connection and this collaboration that is not there in the franchise world. In the franchise world, everything is segregated. You're waving the same flag, but at the end of the day, you're fighting for your own branch, your own office, and that's it.
You're right. Yeah.
I think that that's just been the biggest thing is like everything about this company is just so collaborative. Like, and I love the fact that, we get to, I think, I understand with other franchises, you can go to family reunion with Keller Williams and you can meet a bunch of people, but it's not on an everyday interaction, right? It's not because like you said, you interact within your own market center or your own brokerage. So I love the fact that, when we're here, it's constantly, I feel like I just have a much bigger picture as far as, what's going on in the real estate market as a whole, right? Yeah. We're not just this little tunnel vision of what's happening right in our little brokerage. So I think that's just huge. I just think, I don't know, I can't say enough good things about it.
So you brought 20 people. I want to know about your group and your team, if you don't mind. You brought 20 people over?
No, it was less than that, but we've got a small team. We're right around that 10, 12 mark right now with admin and adding more as we speak. So we've got some more interviews lined up today. We're looking forward to growing because we do buy leads, we do provide leads. We need agents that can hustle, right? And there is so much demand in our greater market. Where's your team at in Florida? I
have Orlando, I've got Sarasota, I've got Miami. I've got, so they're spread out. And I'm assuming, are you seeing it in those markets too, the demand? Oh yeah. It's amazing. And that's the beauty of, because there were times in New York where we were, pretty quiet. All right. Now, EXP was 100% operational. In fact, we're the only company that was 100% operational, across the US while this whole thing was going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, locally, we weren't able to go out and do our showings or anything like that. We had to do everything virtual, right? Luckily, we've been doing things virtual with EXP for the last 10 years. So they kind of had all their programs in line and everything like that. But things did slow down a little bit. And when they did, it was nice that my Florida team was closing deals. Right?
Tell me about that collaboration. So you've obviously got over 400 agents now scattered across the country. How do you collaborate and keep everyone involved when you're at a massive scale like that?
So the beautiful thing is, what EXP uses for communication, and that's Workplace by Facebook, right? So we weren't a stranger to that. When we had our 3 offices, we connected everybody through Workplace as well. I understand that Compass uses Workplace. I think EXP is probably the largest user of Workplace out there with 31,000 agents.
And growing. Right? Yeah.
And growing. I heard as of today, we're at like 31.9.
That's awesome.
Right? Yeah. I could communicate with everybody through Workplace.
Yeah.
Every single agent within EXP, no matter where they are in the world, we're connected, and we could jump into groups. We could do little calls and video calls, and the communication is better than ever.
Yes. That's awesome. Yeah.
So I have a question too. And so as far as like you had your franchise, or you had your brick and mortar locations, when you came over to EXP, did you just completely get rid of those and go straight virtual, or did you keep some offices? I know that's one of the biggest hesitations I get from agents.
So you remember, we all know how Netflix disrupted Blockbuster, right? Do you remember how it happened? They didn't go straight to streaming, did they?
No, they mailed you the DVDs.
Yes, right? So it was a progression, all right? So, when I was looking at this whole thing in New York, there were no branch offices, but we had Regis offices, right? Yeah. And in New York, we've got, in the county I'm in right now, we've got probably about 30 Regis options.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. Right? But I decided to keep my branch office and license it with the state so that we can continue to gather because that's what we were so great at doing and the culture that we had. So yeah, we kept our branch office, and it's been a really good kind of part within the transition.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, so we were actually looking, that was one of our biggest concerns, but then we transitioned over right when COVID happened. So everything got down. So we're like, okay, well, let's not go get a location right now because why sign a lease? And but it forced us to go completely virtual. But I think the biggest thing that I learned is that how we could still be actually more productive, right? I don't feel like we lost that touch. We just transitioned, and it was kind of a blessing, I think, for us, because it forced our hand into doing something that I don't think we would have done.
Yeah.
But it's been pretty cool to see that, we still have our team meetings, but we're just done in 15, 20 minutes. We're not having to drive to the office and hang out all day.
Yeah.
That's it. I had an office meeting yesterday, and I wasn't dressed for it, and we did it in our team suite, which we all have access to.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
So weekly we meet there.
Awesome.
And before that, when we had when everything was open, we kind of did a hybrid where we would have the office meeting there, but also stream it into the team room.
That's awesome. Cool. You have any other questions?
Give us your overall snapshot of the future of real estate for the remainder of 2020.
Again, I think it's for us locally, I think it's a rebalance. I think that as long as the interest rates stay low, it's a great time to get into the market, right? I think that people shouldn't be renting anymore.
I agree. Yeah.
Right. So we have to do a better job as realtors to go out there and just let everybody know the benefits of home ownership, and they need to hear it from us, because it outside looking in, it's a little scary.
It is.
Right? Everybody's moving, everybody's leaving the city, everybody's going to Florida. But at the end of the day, if they're able to lock into low interest rates for the next 15 to 30 years, that'll be the smartest move they make in their lifetime.
And a lot of them, with the way the rents are here, and we have a property management company, and we own homes that we rent out. So there's a lot of times where you can buy a home cheaper in our market than you can if you pay the monthly rent. So I agree with you 100%. Build that equity, get more people into home ownership. It's a better way to go.
And for agents, have ownership in your business,
Yes.
right? Stop renting from your brokerage. Stop renting from your franchises.
Yeah.
Right? Take a look at this model. Talk to somebody about it. Find out. Do your own research, and make an educated decision for you and your family.
Yeah. And our main reason, the stock is all bonus, right? Like, that's a huge play, a great factor. But our main factor was hanging around other agents throughout the country, now throughout the world, that are at such a high producing level, yourself included. So it's like sports. If you want to get better, you've got to play against or play with the best people in the world. And that was truly our motivation for coming over to EXP. The fact that the stock goes up like a rocket ship right now is just a huge bonus.
Which is funny, because that was not at all like when we first were talking about EXP, they started talking about the rev share, they started talking about the, and we were like, we don't really care. Like, we don't. Like, that was not in it at all for us. And now that we're in it, and I think our stock, we really haven't done much, and I think it was, it's significantly more, and it was stuff that these were gifted to us through closings and things like that. And we're like, okay, well, maybe this isn't a joke, right? This is like a free 10 grand that we weren't expecting.
Not too bad.
No, and that was just in.
Really since April, May, because we didn't have any closings right away because they were all closing at the other brokerage.
So I think it was more May.
Yeah,
we're talking like 2 months.
Yeah, 2-3 months. And now looking back, it's just like, why would anybody out there pay to be in any other brokerage when you can get it all back in stock, and the stock's on a huge upswing?
Right.
So now it opened our eyes. We're like, oh, maybe this isn't a joke. You start thinking it's kind of like, oh, because we've heard about all the profit share. I think we got like $1.78 our last check or something.
At Keller Williams, yeah. So
I heard, I just spoke to one of the largest teams, actually the number one team in the entire state of Nevada, coming from the number one KW office in the entire state. And he actually showed us how much he made this year, the first half of this year, in profit share. Yeah. And it was scary. It was less than $200. It was less than $200. And I said, wow, you get more in stock on your first transaction.
Yeah.
And with realty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, Vincent, where can our clients that are considering your market, where can they find you and your team, and what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So I've got a website set up. You could jump on my calendar, Vincent Koo Live, really easy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd love to talk to you guys.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well,
Cool.
thank you so much for your time today. It was great getting to pick your brain. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us.
My
sure.
pleasure. Yeah, thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye now.